This is Jim Okrasinski with your Chapter 4 lecture video. Today I'm beginning in the course unit, and I'll move over to the Google slide presentation. There's a lot to cover in Chapter 4 that will prepare you to write the draft that is due this Sunday, August 1st, end of day. I list some of the important sections in Chapter 4 for reading. Of course, the resources here for the Curious Researcher slide presentation and the activities that'll be due this week. So just to give you an overview, the first draft, or what I sometimes call the consultation draft, is to be sure to be submitted on time. Really a well-planned text using 6 separate sources. I'm looking for in-text citations, the parentheticals, or announcing the speakers, what we call attribution included, so I can tell the difference between your words and the words of others. Also, I would like the works cited page or a references page if you're using APA. I'm looking for a format, double spacing, indented paragraphs, standard font, MLA headings. I want to make sure that this is stretched out to a good 6 to 7 pages, about 2,000 to 2,500 words of text. All right. So your information that you've accumulated, it should be sufficient. However, you may need some additional sources of information to help round out your topic. You might want to check back to the introduction and balance. You're talking about the 4 sources of information. Remember, personal experience can be used as academic evidence as long as it is academic evidence and it doesn't take over your drafts. This is a research essay, so it's not about you. You can use instances from your life, for example, the cost of college, a nice little paragraph with a story talking about your experiences with the college education and the costs would be appropriate to support your argument. So let that be said, that it must be minimal. Typical process here. If you take a look, I did build the research essay folder. You might find it beneficial to create your own folder. I created a folder here, and in this folder you can drop your first draft, your peer report, and also your final draft. It would be great for me to find those. If not, we don't have a lot of students in this particular class, so just dropping it in the appropriate folder here in the course folder would be great. Once again, I think exercise 4.3 speaks for itself. I'll get to a little bit in the slide presentation, but I have also created a folder for the documents there. All right, so getting on to the Curious Researcher, Ballinger offers 2 ways to present your topic in Chapter 4. He talks about exploration or argument. How do you want to argue? Argue is traditional format. You derive at a solid thesis statement to state your argument and make your claim, and then you spend the rest of your essay supporting that particular argument or your thesis, including a counter argument about your topic, and wrap up with in the conclusion. So as I say here in the slide, you use your research to persuade the reader. You want the readers to think or do something. In other words, take action. If you're looking to explore your topic, you might not be quite confident. Exploring might be the path that you want to have a conversation about your topic. Your reader can appreciate the topic so they can learn with you about your topic. It's more informational as opposed to argument. Okay, so Ballinger does talk about soft, say one freaking thing in your essay. You want to make sure that you drive a consistent point through your draft. That's always appropriate. Now, he talks about it, and you should take some time to read how to organize the draft. Okay, the argumentative structure is pretty much straightforward in how you want to present your different topics. Remember some of the essay basics, 1 topic per paragraph. You can move through the organization of your argumentative logic in the best way possible. Also, Ballinger does talk about a narrative logic. This is where you present your thinking and is basically the exploratory path through your topic. And it's like you're almost telling the reader a story. This is what I found out about this topic. So let me record my thinking about what I found and how it may be of interest to you as a good perspective to take on this particular path in organizing your research essay draft. So he talks about the argumentative logic here, about magnifying the question or problem, going in depth, and really talked about both sides of your argument. And the argument, if you're going to make an argument, it really has to be fair and it has to be balanced and it has to be accurate. No wild assertions or any fallacies about the topic. Make sure that you are accurate. So exercise 4.3 really allows you to draft your introduction. I urge everybody to take exercise 4.3 serious. Draft those three introductions, not only for the discussion board post, but with the idea that one of those will be your actual introduction. So that out of the way, your first draft should come together really, in a consistent manner, and it should get you at least started. You want to refine your thesis as you move along. Okay. Exercise 4.2, if you want to take a look, is a great way to kind of redefine your thesis. You may want to do that particular exercise on your own. And then here we need to talk about whether you want to say I and use the first person. Obviously, if you're following a narrative logic or an exploratory essay, you might want to consider writing in the first person. There's nothing wrong with using first person in academic writing. The problem with the first person is that the I takes over. So a bunch of sentences, I think that, or I do this, or I believe that. And that's where it gets kind of redundant, and then instructors kind of ban the first person. But selectively using I, making different rhetorical choices when making your assertions, certainly you can use I, especially if it's a topic that you might be using some personal experience with. Okay. So they're one of the sections you want to read is flashlights and floodlights. You also want to make sure that you run through the multiple leads section in the textbook. And then remember, you have to read the section on 131 about writing for a reader interest. And then you want to start thinking about an audience. Begin to do so with exercise 4.1. How is it that you're going to write for the reader interest and really putting people on the page? I've asked a couple of you in comments in your annotated bibliographies, several questions like, so what? Who cares? And why does this matter to me? So in other words, what you might be looking at as far as writing to people in your audience, how does that really affect somebody other than maybe yourself, and how you may look at it from a different perspective to prepare you for an audience. Another aspect here is a strong ending. Don't rehash what you've already told me. I mean, come up with something interesting and new, something that might, in other words, solve the problem, a solution in many ways. So writing a strong ending, really, I don't want to read in a conclusion what you've already told me. I know what you've told me. I've read your essay as a reader. I want to know a fresh perspective. How can we use hashtags, or how can we solve college college costs and what they've been doing over the last 10 or 20 years, right? Remember, handling sources and handling quotes are always important. You want not to stop and plop a quote. You want to build a quote sandwich around your particular quotes. You want to write an adequate lead in, and then you want to write some interpretation or analysis after your particular quote. The kitchen sink is where you just kind of throw everything together and use that in a quote, just instead of parsing it out or paraphrasing. All right. So that would be about chapter 4. You want to think about this, really look at how Ballinger talks about the kind of like the quotation sandwich in the book. All right. So, if you have any questions or issues on Chapter 4 of the draft, please send me an email. Good luck.